The Ultimates is a Marvel comic written by Denise Camp that takes place on Earth 6160. So on Earth 6160, the world is controlled by a guy called the Maker, who is an evil version of Mr. Fantastic. He's not actually from Earth 6160, but he is from another dimension. But he went to Earth 6160, went back in time and messed with the timeline so that none of the superheroes ever come into being, and he takes over the world and he rules it from like the shadows with like the secret council. And the Ultimates are this team that they're basically the Avengers of sort of, I guess you could call them replacement heroes, some of them, or well, some of them are who they're supposed to be, like Captain America still Captain America and Thor still Thor, but they're basically a version of the Avengers that are a terrorist group, is what they end up being called. But they are essentially revolutionaries trying to take down the Maker's secret council and his rule of the world, basically. And the series is currently issue 11, just came out this week. And issue 12, that's the 1 year mark, is coming up pretty soon. So the Ultimates is we're at a pretty pivotal point in the series. So I have some predictions for what some of the stuff that might go down going forward. So I thought I'd do a video going over those. Full warning: I'm going to spoil the shit out of the series. If you haven't read it yet, and you want to, and you don't want to get it spoiled, probably need to click off this and go read it. But yeah, that's that. So, okay, prediction 1: Tony becomes Kang. That's really not that surprising if you've read. So, if you want the full like background on Earth 6160, you can read Ultimate Universe, which was 2023, came out 2023. I think it was only like a couple issues. It was a mini series. And then there's Ultimate Invasion, or no. Okay, it was. Wait. Yeah, it was Ultimate Invasion and then Ultimate Universe. I might have that backwards, but it was one, then the other, and they're both miniseries. They're only like 4 issues each, I think, that kind of go over it. But in one of them, Kang shows up looking kind of like Iron Man. And I think it's not hard to put two and two together that Iron Man, or well, he's called Iron Lad because Tony in this universe is like 15 or 16, is going to become Kang. It just makes sense. Nothing really. That's a no-brainer, honestly. Some more stuff going over it. Issue 13, you can see Tony writing Ultimates 3 on a whiteboard, Tony's hand. And then this summary off of the Marvel website for issue 13. So we could see here, it says, be kicking off new, more daring actions. We could be I think something that could lead to Tony becoming Kang is him getting more desperate and taking the more drastic measures, trying to take down the Maker. So I think that will, him getting, I guess crazier is going to lead to him becoming Kang. But other than that, not much there. Next prediction: Doom, the Fantastic Four, and Kang. So if you remember in Ultimate Universe or Invasion, whichever one it was, when Kang shows up, Kang has this like clone army of like superheroes of like Captain America and Thor and all that. So, and if you see and if you remember issue 4 of the Ultimates, Doctor Doom, who is this universe's Reed Richards, is trying to recreate the Fantastic Four using mice. We can assume he's using some kind of genetic, like, mutation, whatever stuff to do this. So it's probably not too far of a reach to say that this work he's doing and the technology he's using to do this with mice is going to be used, is what Tony's going to use as Kang to create his own little, to create his clone army. So that's my prediction there. Next prediction. Sorry, I clicked that way too soon. Cap versus Torch. All right, so issue 10, that was last month's issue. The Ultimates go and they take on this like white supremacist group called the Red Skulls, obviously named after Red Skull. And they're there looking for Namor. They end up discovering that Namor is dead, but some stuff that goes on in this issue that's kind of major is there's a pretty big reveal at the end of it that the Grand Wizard of the Red Skulls is actually Bucky. So I'm not sure how Bucky lives that long or how he survives. I'm sure there's some bullshit to explain it. But at the end of the issue, they face off against the Grand Skull, and he calls Steve by his name before like teleporting away or whatever. Then at the end, very end of the issue, Human Torch is a robot because he's supposed to be the original Human Torch from 1939. Just thought I'd put that in there. Human Torch's voice recognition in his robot brain or whatever matches Skull's voice to Bucky, and then Cap, I guess, just remembers what Bucky sounds like because that was his fucking sidekick. So I think there's going to be a conflict here because going back to Human Torch killed Hitler. Don't know if you knew that about the character or not. So something interesting about this here is he's talking about his brain being sort of like a computer, and back in the day he had to manually erase his own memories so his brain would function. So some of the memories he erased, were getting the Medal of Honor. He says he's erased like close friends and most of his memories of his own father. One memory he refuses to let go, though, is the memory of him killing Hitler. Now, to be fair, killing Hitler, probably a pretty good memory. But, and maybe I'm out of line, but I do think that to erase memories of his own father, but to keep the memory of killing Hitler, I think there's kind of something there. I think our pal Torch might be a little nuts. Just a little nuts. Especially when we bring Nazism into the equation. I do think Human Torch I think that makes him a bit more violent, especially considering later in the issue, John Walker, this universe's version of John Walker, pulls up and Torch just lights him up, no hesitation. And him doing this is so violent that even Cap's sort of taken it back. And Cap's a World War II veteran too, so it's not like he has any love for Nazis or anything. But even he's taken it back by Jim just lighting him up, zero hesitation. So what I think is that where the conflict is going to stem from is that, well, Cap's not going to want to hurt Bucky. It's just, if they're anything like the 616 version of the characters, Bucky's like a little brother-son figure to Cap. He's not going to want to hurt him. He's going to think that Bucky's brainwashed or something, which he probably is knowing this universe. He's not going to want to hurt Bucky. He's going to want to help Bucky. Torch, on the other hand, I don't think it's too crazy to say that Torch is probably just going to want to kill Bucky. And I think that's going to lead to a conflict between the two down the line. Next prediction, Hank is screwed. This is just kind of foreshadowing. So Human Torch is monologuing through issue 10, and he's talking about Wasp, and you can see, Wasp is doing pretty good, and he's acknowledging her proficiency. Hank, on the other hand, who in this universe is brain damaged, you see here, bottom panel, or bottom two panels, Hank is always second-guessing himself, hesitating when he shouldn't. it'll get him killed one day, probably soon. I think this is a little foreshadowing. I think our pal Hank is just gonna fucking die. You know, just eventually. Probably gonna happen. Now, it is possible that this is a red herring and that Hank will survive, but maybe they'll kill off Wasp. I don't really see that happening. I think that's unlikely, but that is a possibility. Wasp has been killed off in Earth 616, so it's not like it'd be out there, but I do think it's more likely that Hank's going to be the one to get taken out. Next prediction, team split. This really isn't a prediction, as they kind of just straight up say this again on the Marvel Comics website. Issue 12 summary. Descent destroys the Ultimates as a disagreement long developing between two members of the team leads to a devastating departure. I, for one, think the disagreement is between Steve and Tony. That just makes the most sense. Those are always, in any Avengers comic, those are always the two that have a problem with each other. So I think that's just the most obvious, although I do think there are some other possibilities. For example, I think Tony and Human Torch could possibly come to blows. Tony and Doom could come to blows. I think Tony and She-Hulk isn't too much of an impossibility, because She-Hulk, I think back in issue 7, was kind of coming to blows with Doom because she wanted to go back home to Hawaii to look after her people, and Doom wouldn't let her because it just, can't remember the exact reason, but it was like they didn't want to risk her getting caught by the Maker's forces, so they wouldn't let her go back. So I think that is also a possible disagreement, but I do think it's more likely to be between Tony and Steve, because those are the leaders of the group, essentially. And that is all I have on predictions. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know if you're enjoying the series, and I will see you all later.